From American Falls to Malad, we've got the biggest stories in District 5 covered. This is the Southeast Idaho Prepcast with Jordan Kaye.
That's right. Welcome in to the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down everything in Districts 5 and 6 in the state of Idaho. It's been a while since we've heard from Jordan Kaye at the Idaho State Journal in Pocatello. Jordan, what's going on?
Not much. Just, coming back from a nice little Christmas vacation. And then you come to Pocatello where there's apparently like 2 feet of snow. And so that's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's been nuts. I've been shoveling way too much. It's been not fun.
I've just been skidding around the roads in my crappy Honda Civic.
Yeah, boy, that's a poor choice of vehicle for this time.
I'm realizing that day after day.
Oh yeah. So our listeners or viewers, again, you can watch this video on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page. You can listen audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts. It's also been a while since they've heard from me. I have been out sick. Omicron got me. I got the Omicron variant of COVID-19, and I was out for about 10 days, Jordan. So it's actually been a while since we've done one of these podcasts.
Wow. I'm glad I could, be part of your comeback tour from COVID. That's great.
That's right. So the reason I wanted to bring you on is because we obviously talked every week during football season, and our audience really enjoys your work. And we're getting comments on our YouTube channel from people just commenting about articles that you've written for the Idaho State Journal in your time. But that time is rapidly coming to an end, Jordan.
Yes. Yeah, I got a job covering Boise State over in Boise for the Idaho Press. So I'll be in Pocatello for another couple weeks and then moving, I guess, west? And doing that. So it'll be a cool change, but it's weird. Like I didn't think when I was like coming to Pocatello that it'd be, so hard to leave. And then you're like, crap, it's kind of awesome here. And so I've, enjoyed my time here more than I ever thought I would. And the people you get to meet, all the coaches, the parents, the players, everyone, you guys, it's been so fun. And I've loved, interacting with people through this and, articles and on Twitter, especially. It's been a blast here. And, I'll probably end up coming back, once a month or something like that, just because it's, so fun.
Yeah, definitely. So we're very excited for you. You're going to be covering. You're going to be on the Boise State beat for the Idaho Press in Nampa, which is going to be super exciting. I assume it's for all sports, right?
I believe so. Yeah. So that'll be cool. Sometimes it'll be a little easier than 17 high schools. You can just worry about 1 or 2 programs. It's a little easier than when you got to juggle all these football teams and then basketball starts at the same time and you're like, holy cow, this is a lot. But yeah, it's it kind of bittersweet.
For sure. When we did our first podcast together, I asked you what your favorite article was that you wrote for the Idaho State Journal, what your favorite topic was. And you said it was when Pocatello High School was undergoing a name change from Indians to Thunder, which is what they are now. And the conversation you had with Riken Echo Hawk, the great sophomore running back for Pocatello's football team, who is of Native American descent. And so my question is that still your favorite, or is there been something since we last talked that is taking that top spot?
Yeah, it's probably that, just because I think it's cool sometimes when you're an outsider. Like I was born in Arizona. I didn't know where Pocatello was until I got the job, that you come into a new place and you see things with a different perspective than the people who are constantly here. And so it was, right when I moved here, the big hot button issue in Pocatello was this name change from the Indians to whatever it was going to be at that time. And, I think for so long, it was just, there were 2 sides of it. And it was just like either people who were outraged or people who agreed with it. So I thought it was kind of interesting, like just coming in, I was like, well, why do people, I want to know why people care about it on both sides. Like, why are people outraged about it? And it's because of the history and things, but then why do people want it changed? And so I think sometimes when you're a new guy in a new place, you can see things from more like a 3,000 foot view. instead of kind of in the middle of it. And that was one of those things where I was like, this is, super interesting to me. Like, well, I want to get to, kind of figure out like who is this actually impacting? Because I think a lot of times, like, it doesn't, people don't realize like who is impacted by these things, right or wrong. And so that was cool. There's other stories of just incredible, athletes and people that you meet over the years. Canyon Mansfield, who was a wrestler at Century, had this crazy national story because he, stepped on some thing like a bomb that almost could have killed him and survived and became a state champion. That was pretty cool. Isaiah Harwell, who's a freshman now at Century playing basketball, could be like the best kid to ever come from the state and is going to have crazy offers coming to him, and to, talk with his dad, Ron, and him about everything was super awesome. I'm trying to think some other ones. Getting to go to dinner with Gino Mariani of Highland and, watch Taysom Hill with him. That was pretty fun. There's stuff like that. There's just super cool people all around here that have awesome stories, and to be able to like have them like trust me enough to like, hang out with them for a little bit is pretty cool.
Yeah, and a personal favorite of mine was from this fall, where you talked to James Bodley from North Gem High School in Bancroft, who was graduated, but despite being a top flight athlete in both basketball and baseball, didn't get a single college offer. And the light you exposed on how tough it is to be recruited from a small school like North Gem, I thought was really good too. So. Yeah,
that's like the most fun thing too, is you go into some of these places that have, I went to a high school where I think my graduating class was like 750, like something crazy like that. And then you go to like Bancroft, and like, that is my favorite place to watch a game. It's the coolest environment ever. And to like, do stories on those athletes and kids and coaches who like, don't always get the exposure that they deserve. Like, that's super cool. And I love that. Like, talking with James and Bridger Hatch over there, and, all those kids, it's, a blast. Some of the guys at Rockland are absolute studs and should be going places like, the West Side, Bryler Shirtliff's going to Idaho State. Like, that kid's incredible. Like, if he was at, a 5A school or something, he might have more offers and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just, giving those kids exposure, which is a cool part of my job.
Definitely. Speaking of Bryler Shirtliff, a big part of your job was also covering Idaho State University, their football team, and their athletics. I did think it was kind of cool. Obviously, Idaho State underwent a coaching change for football. Bryler Shirtliff was offered a scholarship by the previous coach, Rob Fennessy. And right when the coaching change happened, Pauline Theros, the athletic director at Idaho State, called up Bryler Shirtliff, or maybe face chatted, whatever.
I think it was like with all of them.
Yeah. And all of the recruits that had already been offered scholarships. And she said, hey, despite us bringing in a new coach, we're honoring your scholarships, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. And it helps too. There was only 6 of them. So it's easier to do that with like 6. And it'll give the new coach, Charlie Regal, like, some wiggle room in his next class to be able to kind of bring in the kids that, he wants for his team, but then also, honor these scholarships of kids who probably should be able to make an impact in the next couple of years.
Yeah. A recruiting class of 6 is maybe why Rob Fennessy isn't around anymore, but
sometimes, I think with the transfer portal, I think we'll evaluate how recruiting classes much differently in the next couple of years. I think there's going to be a change in, just your star ranking on recruits. You're going to have to look at transfers and, other guys, especially too, because there's 2 signing periods. And I think that'll shift a lot in the next couple of years.
Definitely. That'll be something as you go to Boise State, you'll definitely get more immersed in the transfer portal for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The last time we talked was at the end of football season.
Yeah.
So there's been about a month of winter sports in between. What have you seen? What have you been out covering in the month of December?
A couple boys basketball games. I left about a couple days before Christmas. So a couple boys basketball games, and then the coaches will text us all their scores and stuff. So I've been keeping up with that. But I think it's, there's a couple really interesting, storylines, I guess. On the girl side, it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can dethrone Blackfoot in 4A. They're still undefeated, and got Hadley Humphreys, who was our all-area player of the year last year. She's just killing it still, and they've got a stacked team. Then you look at Pocatello, who I think had like 2 or 3 wins last year, already has like 6 or 7. So, that's kind of a wide open, conference right now with Pocatello, Preston, and Century. So, maybe they can make a run to state. You look kind of further down, and a lot of those 3A teams are still going super strong. I know, like Snake River lost. I think it was Josie Stedman last year, but return a pretty experienced team. They're really fun to watch. And then you kind of get down a little lower, and like Rockland, I think they finished runner-up last year, or
they took third.
Third, yeah. But I mean, they brought back their 2 best players, and I think it was Kearsley Boyer and Ember Farr.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, they're going to be right up there again in the mix. Those 2 are both seniors now. So, they have girls who have been to state, have won state, and then, have kind of gone deep in it. So I think there's a lot of chances for, on the girls side, a couple, teams make real deep runs in state. And then you look on the boys side, and I mean, we see it, we've said it the last couple of years, but that 4A District 5 with Century, Preston, and Pocatello, the fact that only one of them is going to make it out again is just ridiculous. It's going to be a bloodbath in conference play. I think every year, the last 2 years, I've talked to Tyler Jones, the Preston coach, who is very, will tell me, oh yeah, it's going to be a down year for us. I don't know how we're going to do. And then they come out like, gangbusters, and they're just winning everyone. They beat Bishop Kelly early in the year, kind of asserted themselves as another, state title contender after finishing runner up last year. Then you got Century, who I didn't know what they were going to do, losing, a couple kids last year, like, who was it?
Emmett Holt.
Emmett Holt, yes, who was their leading scorer, and Titan Fleischman.
And Eli Williams and
yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yep. And then you bring in Isaiah Harwell, and you've got a couple other kids who have been stepping up, like Bruin Fleischman. I think there's a kid, I think Jordan something. Sorry if I messed it up. And they're just kind of they started off a little slow in the year and have really come on. And then Pocatello with Julian Bowie, Ryan Payne, a couple other kids. I mean, they're looking really good too. So that's going to be pretty crazy. And then you get to the 3A level. Marsh Valley last year was kind of the Cinderella of the entire state tournament. No one thought they were going to do anything. All of a sudden they win state, but Snake River always has a good team. And they're, killing it again this year. You go down further, and like, Rockland's good again. They've got, guys who with more size in 1A D2 than pretty much anyone, with the Matthews cousins, I think, Teague and Wes. So yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on right now.
Yeah, let's start on the girls' side, because that's where you started, kind of with the broad view picture. I think in terms of East Idaho, Blackfoot certainly has the best chance of bringing home a state championship.
Yes,
they're undefeated. It kind of looks like Blackfoot and Burley are just on this collision course. Burley, of course, has Amari Whiting, the Oregon commit, but Blackfoot, they're very well coached.
Yes,
I'm very impressed with Ramey Odom, the coach at Blackfoot, former player, been played at the Air Force Academy. I'm just impressed by the job she's done with that Blackfoot program.
Which is crazy, because like last year was her first year, and you're always kind of unsure of what a coach is going to bring, and to be able to kind of turn that program around so quickly, get everyone to mesh at the right time, and then win state as a rookie coach at a new school. I was like, holy cow, this is incredible. And then you look at the roster, and so many of their key starters were underclassmen, or not seniors. They were coming back. And so you bring back all that talent, and sometimes it can be a bit of a coin flip of how a team's going to respond after a state title. And the fact that they've just come out looking like they haven't skipped a beat at all, undefeated, that's kind of a testament, to, like you're saying, how good of a coach Ramey is.
Speaking of great coaches, I think the next best team from East Idaho to bring home a state title is Rockland. As you alluded to, Vern, he's
awesome.
He's been coaching a long time.
Yes.
And he probably has forgotten more about basketball than I will ever know, right?
Yes. Yeah, I know. I came to the Journal right after, they won the state title. I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, that team is just kind of built off those 2 juniors last year, seniors now. And, Kearsley and Ember. But yeah, I mean, they're sharpshooters, know how to play in the post, and then he's got a really good system that they kind of excel under. Yeah, I thought they were probably close to the favorites to win state, or at least in that conversation. But to get third, bring home a trophy, I mean, that's 2 trophies in a row for Rockland. So I think they've got a good shot of probably getting another one this year.
Yeah, their only loss this year, Rockland, was to Raft River, which is a really good 1A D1 team, and they lost 47-39. Otherwise, that it looks like Rockland and Mackey are kind of on this collision course. And they already played once this year, and Rockland won that game 44-28 in Mackey.
Yeah, that district is just so tough. Kind of another one that's, kind of like in boys, the 4A District 5. I mean, 1A D2 for East Idaho is just loaded every year. It seems like the state champion comes from that conference more times than not.
Yeah, and North Gem is quietly lurking as well. 5-4 overall, but 5-2 in the conference. They've got Danica Barfus, who's a great player, as well. So, third best team that I think from the West, or from East Idaho, that could bring home a trophy is actually a team that's got a sub 500 record right now, and that's Soda Springs.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are sleeping on Soda Springs because their record is sub 500. But they've played a really challenging schedule. So Soda is 4-6 overall, but they're already 2-0 in their conference, and they've beaten probably the other top contenders in their conference, Aberdeen and Westside. I mean, look at these games. They played Preston, Ryrie, Sugar Salem, Snake River, Ryrie again, Lapway. They only lost to Lapway by 2, and Lapway's the top ranked team in 1A D1. They played Grangeville. So
I mean, they made a run to state last year, and I think a lot of people were surprised just because, Bear Lake was also made a pretty deep run. But I really liked last year what I saw from Soda Springs. And the crazy thing is they have so much height and so much youth. And so that's a team that, despite them losing in state last year, you knew they were going to come back the next 2 years and kind of have really good teams. I know Zippy Thompson, who is I think she's like 5'10", something like that, very tall, who's a killer volleyball player. And then in basketball season, they put her on the block, and it was rare that there was a girl that could guard her. And so, they have so much length that I think, Wade over there, can do so much different things with them.
Yeah, Wade Schvanevelt, great coach for Soda Springs as well. So I like Soda Springs a lot, even though they've got a sub 500 record. And then I think the next best team that could bring home a trophy from East Idaho is probably either Butte County or Grace in the 1A D1 ranks.
Yeah.
Pirates are undefeated. They're 11-0. Mm-hmm. Grace, of course, the defending champions, 8-4. They did lose Mania Clegg to graduation, but they bring back, a lot of good talented players. And that's another team that's really challenged themselves with the schedule. They've played Westside twice. They've played American Falls, which is a 3A school. So I like Grace and Butte County a lot as well.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I think last year I was watching Grace, and it seemed like their entire team was built off, Mania Clegg. But it's really cool to see how good they're doing this year, and to show that, no, there's plenty of other girls who, are really good and can contribute and can, get wins for them. Yep,
for sure. 3A ranks, you talked about it, Snake River. With Coach Stedman.
Yes.
They're 9-4. They did suffer a setback last night. They played Sugar Salem, which is kind of the other big contender from East Idaho, and they lost 60-35. So I think Sugar Salem has kind of solidified their position as the team to beat in this part of the state. And then at the 4A level, you mentioned it, Pocatello is 6-8. This is the best mark they've had in a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how they stack up with Preston, because Preston's 8-5.
Yeah.
But Preston's got some good wins. They beat Middleton. They lost to Blackfoot only by 3. They will play for the first time. We're recording this Wednesday, January 5th. They play tonight, Jordan. So that'll be it. It's in Preston. So we'll see if this Pocatello girls team is ready to take that next step. That'll be a good one to watch for sure. So I think what's really surprising to me at the 4A is Century has really struggled. They're 1-13. Now they lost a lot of talent to graduation. Of course, the Diamondbacks got all the way to the championship game last year. But I didn't think it was going to be this much of a struggle for Century.
Yeah, I know they have a really young team, and I think they're confident that, you just need to kind of be on the right streak when conference play rolls around. So they've got a lot of youth, and I think they actually went for like 4 or 5 days to Vegas and were playing some really tough teams, just kind of almost on a regional basis. And so that was an interesting thing. They challenged themselves. But yeah, I don't think you can totally write them off yet because, they have talent, and it's just so much youth that they got after losing Tenley Smith and Presley Merrill last season. So, as long as they can kind of get something to click by the time conference play rolls around, I wouldn't count them out, especially in a 3-team conference where realistically you only have to win like 2 games. So like nothing is impossible in a 3-team conference.
That's right. Well, let's switch over to that conference on the boys side. This is the dead horse we continue to beat week in, week out, but it's true. On the boys side at the 4A level in District 5, Preston is 9-1. Pocatello is 6-1. Century is 7-3. I think all 3 of these teams would finish either first or second in District 6. Hillcrest is obviously very talented, but at least would earn the second spot to state from District 6. I think all 3 of these teams would easily beat the second team from District 6.
Yeah, no, that's and it's going to be interesting. I think on Thursday, Pocatello plays at Century or Century plays at Pocatello. One of those, but the fun thing is like, this will be the first time in high school that, Isaiah Harwell from Century and Julian Bowie, the sophomore from Pocatello, match up against each other. And these are 2 of the best players to come from the state in years, since guys like, Matt Stuckey at Century and Stefan Gonzalez at Highland. These are 2 of the best guys to come who both have offers from, some pretty good schools. I think, Isaiah has an offer from, at least Idaho State. I think maybe like Cal Poly, one of those.
Looks like we lost Jordan. Your video froze at a very unfortunate time. You with us, Jordan? Yeah, looks like we're...
Can you hear me?
Yes. And we lost him again. Okay. Big picture though. Century, Isaiah Harwell, great freshman. Julian Bowie, great sophomore. Pocatello, both of those guys are studs.
Yeah. And to see Julian kind of, it seemed like he's taken the next level.
Yeah, we're still having problems with Jordan. I'm going to kick you out. I'm going to make you re-enter, and we'll see if we can get his problems fixed on that end. So big games coming up Thursday. Century at Pocatello in the pit, and Preston will have a non-conference game with Blackfoot, which is probably the second best team in District 6, I think, talent-wise. Blackfoot is another team that you've been able to see this year, Jordan. Are you back with us? Not quite. Okay. So Blackfoot comes in 5-3, but Pocatello has already beaten Blackfoot pretty soundly, 56-29. So again, this 3-team race in District 5 is just going to be insane. So that's the 4A. 3A level, Marsh Valley, defending champs, continue to be the top ranked team in pretty much every poll you look at. And they're another team that returns a lot of talent from last year. It seems like there's 5 billion Howells in the school.
Yeah, I know. Who is it? I think Stanton, Howell, and Carter, I believe, are the 2 that are still there. And Bracken, I think, graduated last year. But yeah, no, they bring back a ton of talent. They've also got guys like Hunter Roche and Peyton Howe and Michael Belknap, who are all football studs and play baseball and incredible there. So, it's that's the cool thing about Marsh Valley and some of these 3A, 2A teams is like, you just go sport to sport and it's the same guys. And it's really cool, when you've got stud athletes, you're going to be good at a lot of different sports. And so Marsh Valley is definitely a team that contributes from that. And then, I think this is the same race as last year. Snake River is, again, really good. And I know they always are with the, Robert Coombs as a coach, but, they lost a lot of seniors last year and have kind of come back and now are led by Cole Gilbert. And I think they're going to kind of, give Marsh a nice run for their money for the conference.
Yeah, I agree. So some Snake River fans have kind of told me or have told people at IdahoSports.com, and I haven't had a chance to check the math on this because I got sick, but apparently Coach Coombs is getting very close to 500 career wins. He's been at Snake River a long time as the boys basketball coach. He's also the athletic director at Snake River High as well. So I got to do some checking and make a phone call over there. But that obviously would be a huge accomplishment for Coach Coombs.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's too many guys from the state of Idaho with 500 wins.
Yeah, that's
maybe that list is 5 guys, 10. I don't know if that.
What are the odds that like Snake River has this coaching legend on the football side and Tom Harrison?
Yeah,
they got one on the basketball side as well.
I guess it's just when you've got a community like that supports its programs and is a good place to live, like people want to stay. And I think that's kind of one of the things that Snake River has built is that community cares about athletics, and when a community cares about athletics, the coaches tend to want to stay there. I think that's one of the things that they've got going for them.
Yeah, I mean, so that race will be a lot of fun. And then also the last race we'll talk about in boys basketball, again, in 1A D2, that Rocky Mountain Conference, which is just, I mean, look, if you look at the standings right now, Rockland is 5-0 in the league. Water Springs is 6-1. North Gem and Showban are both 4-1. Showban, it's pretty remarkable. They suffered their first loss of the season last night to Water Springs. This was a team that when the season started didn't have a coach. They had to they had to move their first week of games to the back end of the schedule so they could get a coach in place.
It's kind of incredible. Yeah, I think you came into this year being like, I don't know if they had a coach, didn't have an athletic director. It was like, I don't know how they're gonna how are they gonna play? Do they are they just gonna have just the kids running out there? And to see them kind of, despite that, come out and have an incredible year has been really cool to see. Especially too, because I know they struggled last season, and I think they beat Grace Lutheran earlier in the year, and that was kind of the light to me, being like, okay, wow, Showban's for real. But then you've got Rockland, who's got Wes and Teague Matthews, who are both on most nights going to be about 3 inches taller than anyone who's guarding them. You've got North Gem, who's got Brett Yost and Bridger Hatch, who, kind of dominated their football team and now play basketball. With Tracy Corda, running things for them. They play a real high tempo pace, really press a lot. I mean, that's a team that's going to just get after you. And they have stamina that can kind of, hold that up. And so I think a bunch of those are going to compete. And what is it? Is it 3 that gets in from that conference?
I think it's 2.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it's 2, which is going to be fascinating in districts.
Yeah.
And then Water Springs up north in Idaho Falls is also very good. Scott Moe is the coach there. He's also the athletic director. He runs a great program. Daniel Canfield might be the best overall player in the league. He's a guard for Water Springs.
Gotcha.
Their only loss came to, they're 8-1 overall. Their only loss came to Rockland. They played on December 21st, and Rockland only won that game 49-48. Now the rematch is coming Friday night in Rockland. That's going to be must-see basketball.
Holy cow. Yeah, that'll be a good one.
And Rockland's only loss came to Richfield in a non-conference game by 5. So the rematch between Rockland and Water Springs this Friday night is going to be, the winner of that might win the conference. We'll have to see.
Well, they played twice, right?
Yeah, so they already played once, and Rockland won by 1. So this is the rematch, and yeah, we'll see.
Nice.
Either way, a lot of good teams in East Idaho, which, again, especially when it comes to basketball, I feel like Boise, kind of the Boise Valley, says, yeah, we've got the best teams. And we saw in football this year, it didn't really pan out.
No.
And I don't think it will for basketball either.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think at the top level, I would be surprised if a Boise team didn't win 5A. I think Hawaii has proven that, the first year when anyone can transfer in, that they just load it up and have some of the best players in the state just up and down their roster, especially a bunch that are like freshmen. So that's going to be a team that I think is just going to be dominating the state for about the next 4, 5, 10 years. And then 4A level, I think I'd be kind of surprised if it wasn't an East Idaho team, but it's tough to ever count out like Bishop Kelly. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, Jordan, what are you going to be working on at the Idaho State Journal here as you approach the finish line? Do you have any big projects coming up?
I got to finish these all area teams. So a little bit behind on those. And so that's kind of one of the things before I get out of here, as nail those down and make sure we get those out and kind of honor all the kids that deserve it for, the fall sports.
Yeah. So that'll be what, football, volleyball, soccer?
Yes.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out for that in the Idaho State Journal and also online at IdahoStateJournal.com. And just because you're moving to Nampa, you won't be a stranger. We'll still call you from time to time, ask you what's going on.
Yeah, I'll still be in Pocatello every month or so. Yeah, I'm excited. There'll be a new opportunity, but it's only a couple hours away, so it's not the biggest shift in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's been really fun having you as part of not just the Pocatello community, but really East Idaho. You've given a voice to a lot of players and coaches and the people behind the scenes. And that's really what our goal is at IdahoSports.com as well, is to give as much exposure to these high school athletes as we can. And you, along with the Idaho State Journal, have done a tremendous job of that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been so fun, kind of getting to know you, coming on the podcast, interacting with people. Some of these, you don't think about it, but there's so many fans who are passionate about their high schools, and to be able to give them a voice and give exposure to some kids who, wouldn't otherwise get it is so awesome. I'm glad I got to do that. And hopefully, I think that'll continue even when I'm gone.
Yep, for sure. All right. We'll have good luck with the move, especially this time of year. Stressful. That can be treacherous.
Yes. I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah. And of course, we'll be looking forward to your coverage of Boise State at the Idaho Press as well over in Nampa, IdahoPress.com. You can also read all of his content over there once you shift over. So, but we'll keep an eye out for those all area teams. That's going to be a lot of fun to recognize those players, especially because a lot of them don't do all conference teams because the conferences are so small, right?
Yeah, or some of them do all conference, but I don't know. Those are rough to get through. It's like, when you do have all these 3-team conferences in Eastern Idaho, it's like, well, half every kid is, getting honored, which is cool, but like sometimes it's tough to like sift through those and be like, okay, but who is like the best in East Idaho? Sometimes that's tough with the all conference when there's, you're not choosing from very many people. So I think it's cool to recognize people on a grander stage. And, I think it's really cool too, to see, you get some of these 1A, D2 and, 2A and kids like that who, I think all the 5 and 4A coaches like think, oh, it should just be, all our teams. I'm like, no, if you go watch some of these, teams on the lower levels, like there's some studs around there and that can stack up just as well with, some of your the kids playing in 4A, 5A. So that's what I like most about the all area, is seeing, what kids from the lower levels break through.
Yeah, can I say real quick on that subject? Bridger Hatch got absolutely robbed when it came to the all-state football teams. First of all, I thought Bridger Hatch from North Gem, the great quarterback, should have been the player of the year. I mean, statistically, nobody came close to matching what he did.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the all-state team that was selected for 1A D2, I mean, he didn't even make the second team for quarterback. The Ty Kep from Kendrick was the first team, and Eric Taylor, the quarterback from Castleford, was the second.
What?
Now both of those players are good. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
Bridger Hatch got robbed, man.
I don't know if that's because they had an early exit in state, but yeah, he was one of the most fun kids I've watched when I was in Eastern Idaho. Going to those games in Bancroft with, what did I have? Oh my gosh, we went there one time. They make some crazy dish every time. It was like $4 for like peach cobbler. I was like, this is incredible. I love this place. I was like chowing down on peach cobbler, sitting in a truck bed on the sidelines watching Bridger Hatch and North Gem. I was like, yep, this is the life. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you'll have to make it back to Bancroft every once in a while.
I might have to. Yeah, it's the only place I know where one of the spectators is a horse that sits right outside the gates. So it's pretty unique.
Definitely. All right. Well, we'll let you go. I know you've got a lot of work to do here before you transition into the new job. Again, congratulations on the new job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Your talent obviously is taking you places as you
Thank
continue to move up the ladder. So, yeah. All right, Jordan Kaye from the Idaho State Journal, soon to be the Idaho Press. Thank you for joining us again here on the East Idaho Prepcast.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.